Well, Rachel and Jason, I'm pretty sure I know what music I'm going to use for the Advent and Christmas entry video for next year. Although it might be too long, it'd probably drive Bruce crazy. It will be too long, but that's just my way of saying, wow, thank you. Thank you. Our journey to Bethlehem was less about the places on the way as it was about what we learned and how we grew along the journey. A decree set by Rome to raise money for the opulence of Rome. A declaration to an elderly couple that they would become the parents of John the Baptist in Jerusalem. An entirely pure girl awed by the Magnificat, that she would become the mother of Jesus in Nazareth. And God with us, wrapped in swaddling cloths, placed in a feeding trough in Bethlehem. In this week after Christmas, we may feel like, whew, we did it. We arrived. But we have one more step, one more stop to consider, and that's Persia. Why Persia? Because the wise ones from the east go back to their homeland, which was most likely Persia, which is most likely modern-day Iran. So after we come to pay homage to the Christ child, our journey continues as we return to our own homelands. As we approach the beginning of a new year, we often take stock in our lives and spend time in contemplation and in meditation and in discernment about the previous year. And this continuing story of the birth of Christ also involves the same kind of discernment, the same kind of inquiry, the same kind of, where do we go now? What do we do now? The three wise seekers came to visit the newborn Christ, guided by a star that they had noticed. On this last day of our series, we ask ourselves, what are we seeking? Where is our attention focused? What new stars might be calling us? Will we just go back into the routines of life? Or will we take this moment to understand more deeply how we can return anew? It's difficult to believe it, but 5 years ago, when I started at Calvin, I was bound and determined to start off my ministry here, grounded and centered on what I had learned and grown from the good, bad, and the ugly of my previous 20 years in ministry. My counselor of more than a decade in Omaha and I put together a 1, a 3, and a 5-year plan for my ministry at Calvin. Benchmarks for us to, for me really, and us as a congregation, to achieve together. The first year in any pastorate is crucial. It's a time to establish meaningful relationships inside and outside of the congregation. It's a time to listen intentionally to what is being said and what is not being said. It's a time to learn about, to strive to understand the culture of, and to make connections in the church, in the presbytery, in the community, and with our ecumenical partners in the other churches in town. It's time to build trust, to till the soil, to prepare the way for a shared vision that comes about in year 3. And then to grow beyond the comfortable, which comes in about year 5. It was a really good plan that was sure to set Calvin up for yet another excellent, successful, enriching pastorate. Now, try to forget about it all being blown up by the pandemic, just a quarter of the way through the first year. That's really not the plan. That's really not the point. Or the fact that it threw all of us and all of our culture off center, which also threw off years 3 and 5 plans. That's really not the point. The point is that this brilliantly created plan is a little like the first Sunday after Christmas. It was created in this liminal space, this space between Christmas and New Year's. So let's start with the excitement of Christmas. Sure, there are presents, and the parties are great, but it's all about the manger, the innocent child wrapped in swaddling cloths. Emmanuel, God with us. The wonder and the awe of God coming to us, regular old common people, not in a palace, not to the highest offices, but to a little town of Bethlehem, to a nowhere place with nowhere people. So we've got this space between God with us and moving on to the opportunities of a new year. We've grown and we've learned along this Advent journey. So let's make Christmas, New Year resolutions. Even with resolutions, researchers say that only 9% of Americans complete them. In fact, 23% of people quit their resolutions by the end of the first week, and 43% by the end of January. Or, to say it another way, only 34% of Americans stick to their New Year's resolutions past January. Maybe the pandemic blowing up this brilliant 1, 3, and 5-year plan is kind of part of the point. You see, any plan, no matter how brilliantly conceived, is not even worth its weight on paper if it is not put into action. To say it another way that makes it clearer, a perfectly good soul without a purpose is like a ship without a rudder. We hear a lot of good people say, I'm just getting by, I'm just trying to get through, I'm just surviving. Doesn't that just break your heart? It's like these perfectly good ships, capable with God of amazing things, but they're just bobbing around aimlessly in the ocean of life. Or maybe they have a rudder, and that rudder is win at all costs, to climb the ladder without giving anything about those people they're stepping on, or to gain the world and to lose your soul. This is why I love this time of the year, because we talk about it. We talk about trying to get to and to be clear about who am I and where am I trying to go. Emmanuel, God with us, makes it clear as night and day when the rudder, the goal, the purpose is to love God and to love others as we love ourselves. Everything else falls into place. Everything works out in the end. The three wise men were awestruck by the Christ child. It transformed them. It changed their lives. They would not, on their return home, stop to tell Herod about all the things that had taken place. No, they would change their course. We think of being wise as people with all the answers. But to be wise is to have lived your life and to have made your vocation to ask questions, to seek new knowledge and new things, to learn and grow continuously, to always be trying to better the journey for us, for others, and make the way clear for God. So, voila, Christmas, New Year's resolution. On the way to Bethlehem, Christmas, New Year's resolution. It's self-explanatory, but with God's help, it will help us all move step by step, closer and closer to the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. That innocent babe, wrapped in swaddling cloths, came to give us. Friends, whether this is your 5th journey to Bethlehem or your 97th, this is our opportunity to learn and to grow from them all, to be transformed by an innocent child wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger, to change how we return home and to make the way clear for God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. It is my Christmas, New Year's resolution to do exactly that and to help you along the way. Amen? Amen. Amen.